Welcome back, Bucs fans. This is Ren for episode 3 of the RTJ Ren's Training Camp Journals, and I promised you a special guest, Brent Allen, but I brought so much more. We had an impromptu roundtable with James Hill, was Mr. Bucs Nation on Twitter and YouTube, and we also sat down with Rhett Matthew, the co-host of the Cannon Fire podcast, and we ended up going to a sports bar, ate some wings. I had my recorder with me, so we sat there and we talked some Bucs. I think you're really going to enjoy the conversation, and that's all coming up right now.
Well, you made me weep, and you made me moan. Well, you caused me to leave, child, my happy home. But someday, baby, you ain't worry my life anymore.
Welcome to the Pewtercast. Welcome, Pewtercast listeners and subscribers. This is Ren Dax live at, where the hell are we?
Press box.
Press box. We just saw I had wings, and I know I promised you, I teased at the end of last podcast that I had Brent Allen on, and I do have Brent Allen on, but we also have some special guests. You follow my Twitter feed, you already know who they are. But Brent, we'll start with you. First day of training camp for you.
Yes.
First time you saw training camp.
Yes.
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 So, open question.
Yeah.
How was it? What'd you see?
Yeah. So, I'm probably not going to say everything I saw because I'm sure the rest of it will come out in conversation. But, just to clarify what you just said a little bit, the perspective I'm coming at this with is I have not seen training camp yet. I'm coming in only with what you've said, with what James has said, with what Greg Allman has said, Pewter Report guys, and having an expectation. And the big thing I'm walking away with today is offense didn't look as crappy as I thought it would.
Yeah, it was a better day for the offense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the kicker, I'm not going to say he lost his job today, but it didn't seem like this was a
Santos cracked.
Yeah. This was not a sharp competition.
He blinked today.
Yeah.
Santos blinked.
Yeah. So, I think those are the two big, huge takeaways I'm coming off with. Of course, there's a lot of little things. This guy popped up, that guy popped up, but, those are the main ones.
Yeah, so how did you sort of feel like the overall vibe, the first time you've seen Bruce Arians in person and all that kind of stuff?
Can I tell you what I was most disappointed in?
Please do.
I didn't hear a single cuss word all day long.
Oh.
I just didn't. Like, I was expecting to be able to have, to hear them coaching their players and hear them talking and, I wanted to see Bruce Arians, get into somebody, you know what I'm talking about? And that didn't happen at all. So, but enough about me, Ren. We've got a couple other people here. We've got Rhett Matthew.
You got
Matthew Rhett.
You got it.
From the Cannon Fire podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Rhett, how's it going, buddy?
Doing good, man. Happy to be here. Just shoveled down some press box wings, and I'm feeling as good as I can after that. So,
So what number training camp day is this for you this year?
This is number one. This is number one ever.
Really?
I've never been to a training camp day. I've never made it out to a practice. I've never been past the gates of One Buck Place. So this was all new for me today.
So I can confirm something. Today's training camp, very, very different than what we experienced under Dirk Cutter.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I never went to one prior to Dirk Cutter, so this is the only thing I have. But this one was more fun to watch. By far, way more fun to watch here. So,
and I think, as you said, a much different atmosphere than what Dirk Cutter brought to the table. I wasn't there, but even some of the big things we've heard, like the absence of music at training camp, I think that presents an atmosphere where you're going to hear some more guys jawing at each other because it's a little more competitive. There's less guys jamming out, singing the words of the songs between reps, and there's guys out there running routes as hard as they can. And, we saw some guys get up and at it today. Not a whole lot of fights, but a little bit of scrums here and there.
Yeah, I do feel like I saw one punch get thrown.
Yeah, I think we saw some. I
want to say shoves. It was Murphy Bunting on Chris. No. So, I don't know. It was something. I'm not going to name names.
Ren shaking
his
head.
Let me roll that back. Don't listen to any name that I just said. Somebody threw a punch at somebody today. It was on the defensive side, though.
Like to see it.
Yeah. Somebody's got video out there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Someone
in Twitter land.
Well, let's bring in the fourth party of our member, James Big Money Hill. I'm the only one who still calls you Big Money.
You know, it's still here.
It's still here.
Still calling me Big Money.
still doing it, you piece of crap. Anyway, James, you've been to all of them. Like, you went to all of them last year, right?
Right.
And you've been all of them. No, you missed yesterday.
Missed one.
You missed yesterday.
I missed one.
Yeah. Were you sick or?
Just had
24-hour flu?
Little family emergency. It was resolved, though.
By the way, I really appreciate you apologizing for missing yesterday, James. I was highly distraught and offended that you missed practice, and I don't care if it was a family emergency. You did right by apologizing.
You know, I saw Brent's tweet, and my immediate reaction was, okay, that's good. That's good.
What tweet are we talking about?
It was a GIF.
Because I don't follow Brent on Twitter.
It was a GIF that just said, "That's unacceptable."
Oh, yes. Oh, now I did see that. Now I do remember.
The only person who responded that way.
Right.
So you did see Dirk Cutter. You know,
Yes.
his Dirk Cutter in practice. And now you've seen all but one. So you've seen like 5 now.
Right.
Four of the training camp practices.
Correct.
What are your impressions?
My overall impressions?
Yes.
Well, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Big difference for me, more communication, I think. Obviously, the lack of music, I know Rhett touched up on it. I think that helps the communication levels between the coaches and the players. This is the time when you have to teach them techniques, and this is the time when you have to teach them about how they're going to use their roles on offense and how they're going to use their roles in defense. And I think that level of communication is so much greater now than what it was back in the Dirk Cutter area, and that's not a fault to the coaches. That's just kind of a more of a benefit to the atmosphere that we have now, without the loud, very loud music pumping in, and potentially the players mishear things, or potentially they hear the wrong thing or something like that. I think that communication level now in the Bruce Arians era is a lot better. So that's one of my biggest takeaways from it so far.
And one of the big things you brought up was, like, guys, they have to be in a position where they can take in a lot, not only the rookies, but this is an all-new system all around, so guys are going to be listening closer than they ever have in the past because there's just so much to take in. And then I also think about the rookies. Arian said this is probably the most mature bunch of rookies he's seen in quite some time, and I think putting them in an atmosphere where they can take it all in as seamless as possible with no music, no extra distractions, that just kind of sets the tone for the type of team we want to see. They're straight business.
And then also, just quick thing I want to mention is, I know that this has been like a popular thing, but the dual practices going on, huge difference.
See, now, so I kept hearing about this. Keep hearing about the dual practices. I was not able to track with 2 practices at all today, like in training camp, because, training camp's kind of back to the way it used to be, where they have everybody set up alongside what we'll call field 1. And if you've never been to the practice facility, there's 3 separate fields. And you're on the sideline of one field at the very end. And then you can kind of walk down, what I might call like end zone row, I guess, to about the space right in between the second and third field. Now, nothing's really happening much on field 3, very, very little, but they would kind of go back and forth. And if you're overwatching field 2, and then all of a sudden they move over to field 1, by the time you get over to field 1, they're halfway done with that period of practice, and then they move back. I found it difficult as a spectator to track with what was going on with both practices. Maybe that's a little bit easier when you're in the indoor facility, and it's just you're on one side of the field and the other group's on the other side of the field.
Yeah, I would say that it's a lot easier in the inside facility to track both practices.
Right.
And I know that it is harder for us as fans to keep track of it, but, BA, like he said, having his big coaching staff, having eyes on both practices for his whole coaching staff, that's making sure that all those guys get reps. I think that's something that was lacking in the Dirk Cutter era. We saw, especially the rookies last year with Dirk Cutter, those guys just weren't getting enough reps to really show what they could do and really define and carve out a role for themselves on the offensive and defensive side of the balls. And I feel now, even with, these 3rd, 4th, 5th string guys, you're getting a way better chance to see what they can do, and the coaches are getting a way better chance to see what they can do in regards to the roles that they could potentially have, and it could even help a couple of these guys make a roster spot.
And I think the other side, because I got to be real honest, I don't care what the 4th or 5th guy is doing. on the roster. I just don't. But it does give you more opportunity to see what your number 1 and number 2 guys are doing, because you don't have the 4th and 5th guy on the depth chart competing with them, as you said. There's those 2 separate practices going on. So you get to see more of the Mike Evans. You get to see more of the first string O-line. And where they're going. And I tell you what, that's another thing that I noticed from practice today that I think the Pewter Report guys talked about it. A couple of people tweeted me today asking specifically about Alex Kappa and what's going on with that right guard position. And, you know, while Alex Kappa is not, what's the word? He's not a shining star at the guard position. He's not a whipping boy either. Like, he looks fairly solid in that role. And they were hitting. Oh, by the way, they were hitting today. Oh, yeah. And that was great to see. But Alex Kappa was very much holding his own. And, Ren, I don't know if you remember, there was a point when they went to the B team, and I was asking, hey, who's that guy right there? Is that Michael Leedkey?
Right.
And turns out it wasn't Leedkey, it's that new guy, Laribus or whatever.
Yes. The French.
From New Orleans.
The French Roman.
Yeah, and he visually looks a lot like Evan Smith, who, by the way, I did not see at all today.
He was out today.
I'm sure he was. I just didn't see him. But I did notice this Laribus guy, and he, too, was holding his own. Like, we've got some people who can play guard, at least against our defense right now. So I wouldn't say my concerns are fully assuaged, but I like where I'm
fully a what?
Exactly. That's the dictionary for you.
And taking a look at that offensive line, I'm sure there's questions there, but one of the biggest things that I took away today, and something that I don't want to say made me nervous, but Ryan Jensen got steamrolled today.
I miss that. Everyone's been talking about that.
He walked through him. It was pretty apparent. I wasn't even paying attention to the play, and out of the corner of my eye, I could see the spectacle that was these two men coming at each other, and ultimately Vita Vea just getting past them.
But was that a really good play by Vita Vea or a complete and total screw-up by Ryan Jensen?
Well, that's the question, and that's ultimately the question that I was going to pose to anyone that can help give me an answer, because
you got into the right spot, because if you would have listened to the previous pod that I put out today, you'd have that answer.
With the adjustments that have to be made on offensive line, you know, the quote was made, we showed some new looks on defense, and some of our O-line crapped their pants.
Right.
These guys are making adjustments, so is this a good defense, or is this an offensive line that still needs more help than ever?
Well, what I can tell you is that yesterday the defense was so dominant, it was embarrassing. It felt like we were back at the Chicago game.
I think they had a good day today, too.
But from what they were yesterday, like, the offense couldn't do anything. Today the offense had a much better day, and this was definitely more of a 50-50. You could even tweak it to maybe a 55, even a 60-40 for the offense. Okay? So the adjustments, like you said, are being made. Now, what I talked about Vita Vea is, and he's been doing this all camp, basically what he's doing is he's just coming off the ball and he's getting his hands underneath the breastplate of the guard and just walking him back and setting him in the quarterback's lap. I mean, really, you're better off just say hike, Vita stands up, you jump in his arms, let him walk into Jameis, and lay him down at his feet, because that's what's happening consistently. And I've talked about it. He's freakishly strong. One of the only guys that had 50 reps.
We actually watched him set the guard down on top of Blaine Gabbert's ankle today.
Yeah.
At some point. So, but, I mean, you know, this is where I want to come back to. One of the bigger thoughts that I keep having about this being training camp. This is only the 5th day, James?
Yep.
This is only the 5th day. There's a lot of training camp left, right?
Yeah.
This is their 3rd day in pads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
For both lines, this is the first chance that they've had to really get out and practice. I think it's very impractical and unfair of us as fans to expect Ryan Jensen to be polished and ready to go, this early in camp. Now, nobody wants to see him get completely steamrolled or embarrassed, but, I feel it seems to me like a lot of Bucs fans, and I get it, we're all nervous. I know what we have been through as a fandom. And we don't want to see anything bad happen to this team, right? But it's just the 3rd day in pads, everybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like these guys are still learning. They're still getting into shape. They're still and it's practice. Guess what practice is for? to make mistakes.
Yeah.
So you can, my son's playing piano and he doesn't hit every key right when he's playing practice. And I have to remind him, son, it's just practice.
Right.
It's just practice.
Right.
But be better.
Yeah. The philosophy I've had throughout training camp so far is take everything you see with a grain of salt, for sure. Take everything you see with a grain of salt because, like you said, they just got pads on, especially for the offensive and defensive linemen. The shells and the shorts and the helmets, that's all they were working with. They couldn't hit each other. They couldn't really smash into each other. I like our offensive lines staff that we have right now, especially Harold Goodwin. I think that he's going to take a lot of these guys and really get them going, really shake off some of that rust. Because, these first few days and for all these smaller mini camps and all the other stuff they've had to do, it's been really tough for the offensive lines specifically because they haven't had that chance to really get back into full playing shape, So I think that specifically with the offensive line, really just kind of wait a little bit longer, wait till things get a little bit more involved and shake off some of that rust for them. And then I think that we'll really start to see this unit gel more.
Yeah, and not to crap on what Rhett just said, about Ryan Jensen, but, nobody wants to see somebody get steamrolled. But, I wouldn't freak out about it either. Not at this point. Right. We get to the third preseason game and Ryan Jensen's still getting killed. Yeah. Then we have an issue, right? But right now, it's not something that I'm overly worried about. And oh, by the way, Ren, you'd probably know this better than I would. They practiced outside all day today. There was no indoor period. And is this the first time they've done that with pads anyway?
I'm going to go.
It's like yesterday they went inside with lightning,
yes,
and then the day before was rain, right?
The day before was split.
And it was hot.
Half inside, half outside.
Yeah.
Yesterday was
it was
inside.
a Florida August,
late
July summer.
It was pretty uncomfy today.
Yeah.
Like it was humid, and I felt the body
you couldn't
heat.
sit next to me.
No, half my body was on fire because you were giving off so much heat.
Yeah. So, it was just hot outside. So, and we saw Mike Evans go down, right?
Yeah.
Saw Mike Evans go down. Everybody was like, "Oh crap!" And he looked, and he was screaming in pain.
Yeah, you could hear him.
And I kept saying ab cramps, okay, full body cramps, whatever it is. I haven't heard an official report. I don't know if you guys have.
I got confirmation. I got confirmation that it was just cramps.
Yeah.
They've got the day off tomorrow.
That's what it looked like.
I would expect the Bucs to give them another day off after tomorrow if they're really that concerned about it. But as far as we know, it is just cramps.
Right. Yeah. And Mike Evans, we know, is prone to cramps. He goes into every halftime and takes IV fluids, and he's had cramps. I mean, and Mike Evans goes really freaking hard. And by the time they carted him off, I mean, he was obviously in pain from the cramps. They hadn't subsided. They carted him off, but we were within 20, 30 minutes of the end of practice.
Well, how many, and I mean, taking a look before he went down, how many catches in traffic did he really make? How many routes did he run 100% and have to make a catch in traffic and do a little extra bumping around? I mean, he goes hard, and that's another thing I was going to say about the outdoor practices is you see another element to these guys. I think truly they put a little bit more into it when they're outside as opposed to inside the facility. You see guys go a little harder. You see some guys jaw-jacking at each other, and it makes for a more entertaining practice.
And this is coming from somebody
whose
first practice was today.
Yeah. Hey! I watch the Twitter videos. I watch everything that I can and take it in. So, it is what it is.
It's just like being there live, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Something like that.
I will also confirm that, yes, they do go harder out here. So, just to go ahead and put a little stamp on that one.
James, you were talking earlier. I'm sorry, Ren.
No.
You were talking earlier about Harold Goodwin. And Ren, help me out.
Talk on my own show. I mean, what? Huh? What's up? What's up there, host Brent?
Just so everybody knows, I have no headphones. I have no idea what Ren was just saying. I'm sure I'll hear it later. No, Harold Goodwin, not only is the offensive line coordinator, but he's also the run game coordinator. Or something of that, some title, right?
He's heavily involved in the offense.
Yes, exactly. Let's talk about Rojo.
Sure.
I think Rojo had, from what I could tell, a pretty damn good practice today.
He had his best practice he's ever had as a Buccaneer.
Ever.
Yeah. Ever. I mean, he broke 2 long runs, and it wasn't because, you see in these training camp videos, and you'll hear people talk about it like, oh, every running back's going to score 1,000 touchdowns because every time they touch the ball, they get a touchdown. When they're not playing in pads, they'll go through the line and they really get tackled, but they run all the way to the end zone, and they let them do that. And then with Cutter's camp, since it was really just pretty much two-hand touch or pro pop, thud tackle, whatever you want to call it, the running back could also run all the way through. But this was probably the most physical they had today in all phases. And Rojo was running people over and making people bring him to the ground. So this wasn't like he got caught in the backfield and they blew the whistle and he made a move and just ran to the end zone. He had 2 70-plus yard runs.
Yeah.
One he fumbled at the end. So
right.
Bad for that. But the next one, he got it all the way down inside the 5 and the Bucs punched it in. So this, once again, if we're in a show me, don't tell me state with Rojo, and you've heard Bruce Arians talk about him, this was the first time where I really could see things that you've been hearing this coaching staff saying about Rojo. It was the first time, fans actually got to saw it today, because it was impressive.
And not only was he breaking off some big runs, he was picking up blitzes. His pass protection was quite honestly some of the best I've seen out of a running back that I've personally noticed, like that stood out to me. I'm not saying he's the best pass protector we've ever had. I'm just saying, and probably just because my eyes were a little more trained on Rojo,
right,
that I was like, wow, he stood up to some of these blitzing linebackers.
He did his job. He picked up the blitzes.
Yeah.
He did his job.
Yeah, so
he's got that down.
Yeah, and okay, so here's my question.
To who?
To James, who's across the table from me. No, so because actually I want Ren to answer this. I just want him to answer last. Okay, here's we have been fairly positive on our show about Peyton Barber, saying we're okay with Peyton Barber for this year. A lot of people are down on him. If Rojo continues on this track this season, could he overtake Peyton Barber as the number 1 running back in Tampa Bay?
That's a really tough question to answer. I think it would be more of a situation of wait and see, because so far during the camp days, it's been Peyton Barber, clear-cut number 1. They've been getting a lot of these guys working as receiving backs as well, and both of them have looked good in that regard as well, very much improved, especially Rojo.
Right.
And I think that if he can, it's going to be really tough, because Barber's looked pretty darn good in his own right, and I think that he's done a very good job of showing how much of a complete back he can be as well. He's made some very good receiving catches out of the backfield in his own right, and he's looked very impressive too. So while obviously the optimistic part of me would love to say, of course he will. He'll look amazing. We'll all look amazing. I think it's going to be a little bit tougher just because of how good Peyton Barber's looked so far.
Right. And I mean, kind of how you said, this is one that's a little hard to break down, because Peyton Barber, he's got the pressure on him this year, because I don't know if it's all but confirmed, but it seems like he's going to try his hand at free agency next year. And I think if he can improve off of what he's shown us, he could be a running back who is not here next year. And that means Rojo is going to have to show us a little more this season. But it is kind of a wait-and-see approach, because we're also comparing Peyton Barber and Ronald Jones are 2 very different running backs in my mind. I mean, Peyton Barber has a reputation now. I like to believe he'll get you 3 or 4 yards every single time. But if Rojo has that breakaway speed that we saw today, and he can consistently move the chains and just make a name for, breaking out and getting wide open, then we'll see how it goes. I like to believe that he would, though. I think he's gonna need to, because you never know what happens with free agency.
Yeah, I want to take a little bit about what both of you guys said and kind of, throw it into one. I can tell you the Buccaneers want it to happen. They want Rojo to be the man. Not only where they picked him, but he's got a real friendly contract, and like Rhett pointed out, Peyton Barber had his chance to sign his deal. Like, he had, they were giving him $3.25 million, and they were going to sign him for like a 2-3 year deal, and Barber said no. And why did he say no? Because, like Rhett said, he's going to go to free agency. So if Barber blows up kind of like how I'm predicting, I always said this is a learning year for Rojo. Now that I've seen him these past few days, this almost might be a split backfield all season long, and I think they're both going to produce. Now, that's a big if, but so what I'm saying is sort of like what you see in New England, where, there's really 3 backs there, but they got Sony Michel, and then they also have White. And White, they hand him the ball, but really he's their pass-catching back, But I think both these guys, and Jones and Barber, can do both. it's just going to be real interesting. But I'm just going to sort of fall back on the Bucs really want Rojo to take it over this year. At minimum, he's going to have to learn how to become a pro and get over all those things that made him a disappointment last year. Because, again, I'm with Rhett. Odds are, I don't think Barber's going to be back. I just don't. He's just going to price himself out. Bruce Arians has gone on record, said he doesn't like to pay for that position. And, they were giving him $3.25 last year, and he said no. So what's he want, $6 million? You got $6 million, and now you're still splitting, but like with Rojo, it's just not in the numbers for him. So I think this is what I really want to do: just run Barber into the ground. We got him 1 year, man. Treat him like an Alabama senior running back.
That is the exact attitude I had about Deshaun Jackson, because when we saw him get into the return game against the Steelers, he got a touchdown, got called back, as unfortunate as that was, probably cost us the game. But when he stepped into a return role, he did what he had to do, and I think the Bucs should have put him in that position more often. So talking about Peyton Barber, he's a guy that you want to take advantage of as long as you can. You grabbed the mic pretty aggressively there. I don't know if I'm going to get shut down here. Or...
No, not at all. I wasn't listening to a word you were saying.
Oh, it's all good. I don't either sometimes.
I was just kidding. No, I was. No, I just noticed that everyone looked at their phone at the same time. We've been here a while. Our food took a little while. Then we ate. Now we're potting. So let's just sign off here. We're about 25 minutes of this roundtable thing. Everybody, everyone. I'm going to start with you, James, and then you go, Rhett, and of course Brent, and I'll finish it off. But I know I keep calling you James. Everybody knows he's Mr. Buck Nation. Tell people where you can find him. Where they can find you, what you do, your YouTube channel, promote yourself, and then Rhett, you go with your Cannon Fire podcast, and then we'll get out of here.
So you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all at Mr. Bucks Nation, all one thing, So, yeah, you can basically find me there. I do YouTube videos talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I tweet about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Instagram about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's all Buccaneers. You get it. So, yeah, that's where you can find me on all those platforms at Mr. Bucks Nation.
Big money.
And I guess big money.
So I do a little show called the Cannon Fire Podcast, and you can find us. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Twitter is just Cannon Fire Pod because we didn't have enough characters in the username, so you can follow us over there. And then my personal account is Rhettakus, Rhettakus. I'm on Instagram and Twitter. And last but not least, go ahead and check out the show. We are on YouTube, and then you can listen to us anywhere podcasts are heard. So, yeah, really looking forward to getting content rolling and getting the season underway. I'm excited.
And, if you guys want to find out more of me, I host a little show called The Pewtercast. I'm not sure if anybody out there has heard of it, but, you check us out. We're on most of the platforms.
That's the redheaded stepbrother show to Ren's Training Camp.
Yeah, and Ren, I really appreciate you inviting me on the Ren's Training Camp. I've been looking forward to this all year long.
I'm glad I could squeeze you in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And
where can you find that? Wait. I need I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, I am at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias. And the show, that's it, actually, I guess, right there. Go.
You're not going to do the Pewtercast?
Well, yeah, you can email us to thepewtercast@gmail.com. You can find the show on Twitter and on Facebook at the Pewtercast. And subscribe to us, like us. We're on YouTube, iTunes, Podbean, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, iTunes. Google Play, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify.
Are you just dragging that on because
I was trying to, yeah, and I'm out now.
Because you're not going to get to talk last, so you're just holding on desperately to the mic.
All right, we're going to sign the show off as... No, go ahead.
You can find me, as always, at Rendax, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football, but tomorrow the Buccaneers are off, so we will not have another training camp journal.
But will you be at training camp still? Sitting in the stands, 4 to 6:30. Every day, Ren.
Every day what? No, I will not be there tomorrow. But I'll be there every day. Every day it's open to the public. We all, like I said earlier, we have some credentialed medias days, so we're going to be there and give you the best coverage possibly we can. So there will be one day missed in the Ren's Training Camp Journal. But until then, here's a song that I found on the internet after we recorded this that I think is cool that I'm going to play right now.
Do you have the time to listen to me whine about and everything all at once? I am one of those melodramatic fools. Neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid? Am I just up?